Hello and welcome to Chintan Speaks, a podcast brought to you by the Chintan Research Foundation, where we bring you timely discussions on issues related to the India and the world. I'm your host, Dr. Bhavna Singh, visiting fellow with the Center for Geopolitics and Strategic Studies, CRF. Today's episode is a deep dive into the historical and current tensions between China and Japan, specifically in view of their latest spat on Taiwan. Our guest today is the author of the book Xi Jinping's Chinese Dream, China's Renewed Foreign and Security Policy, Dr. Prashant Kumar Singh, who's a research fellow with the Center for East Asia at IDSA. He has lived and studied in Taiwan for a long period of time and has an expertise on China's Taiwan affairs. We welcome you, Dr. Prashant Singh. It is a privilege to have you with us today. Let me get straight to our questions. How do you see the recent developments as well as the overall geopolitical environment that has been shaped by China, the dispute between China and Japan over Taiwan's sovereignty issues, and specifically in light of the remarks made by the new Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi?
Thank you, Dr. Bhavna. Thank you for inviting me to the Chintan Research Foundation. And I'm happy to be here. And thank you for your generous introduction of me. And yeah, this is very interesting development that we have seen after the Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi's statement on 7th November. So I will tell you a little bit of history about it. See, Taiwan was the first Japanese colony,
Right.
and it was ceded by Imperial China, Qing China, in 1895 after the Treaty of Shimonoseki. And for next 50 years, it remained under Japanese control. After the Japanese lost the war in Second World War, they lost in that Great War. They withdrew from Taiwan. They withdrew from Taiwan, and Taiwan's control was taken by Chiang Kai-shek, the leader of the Republic of China. Later in 1972, when Japan recognized the PRC, or you can say switched recognition from the ROC to the PRC, then in the 1972 joint communique, they mentioned that we acknowledge and respect the Chinese position. And after that, for around all these decades, I would say from 1950 and even after 1972, the Japanese have been generally reticent on the Taiwan's status. They have maintained good relations with Taiwan in economy, in science and technology, trade, investment, and other aspects of civilian exchanges. And there is general Japanese cultural appeal in Taiwan. Those societal attitudes towards Japan is mixed, ambivalent, because the colonial past, the memory of colonial past also lingers very strongly in certain sections of the society, and some sections basically have reconciled, and now they see that their primary antagonism is towards China, People's Republic of China. So they are more inclined towards better relations with Japan. So there are two streams, and the second stream is basically in politics represented by the present ruling party there, Democratic Progressive Party.
Right.
Yeah, they are more for better relations with Japan in every aspect as much as they can. So, but on the whole, the Japanese have been silent on this. Towards the late 90s onwards, they started mentioning that the areas surrounding Japanese waters, basically it's a reference to Taiwan and Taiwan Strait, has bearing on Japanese security. But not much they have spoken on that. And there have been hints that they are mentioning Taiwan. They are talking of Taiwan, but they have not explained much. In last I would say So 5-6 years in the basically Prime Minister Abe's last inning onward, Japanese political sections opening up on Taiwan, and that was in line with the general geopolitical situation. The tense, the strategic standoffish relations between China and the US, and what they perceive in that region, China's aggressive stances on many uh, issues, mainly South China Sea. East China Sea is somewhat not that very active, but still that has been the issue. And then the after 2016, the DPP is coming to power, and DPP has been there for consecutive 3 terms there. So the situation cross-state situation also diametrically changed. Lots of tensions, military tensions, and gray zone warfare, and intensification of diplomatic spar. All that you are aware of that. In that context, the Japanese political sections also started opening up and expressing concerns more than before. So they have been speaking Japanese. Uh, but the Prime Minister's statement was a little more detailed and a little more specific. Japanese have never spoken in those specific terms. They have expressed, they have mentioned that they have interest in the area surrounding Japan, basically, as I said, which alludes to the Taiwan situation in Taiwan Strait, that any military situation that will impact Japan, but they have said this obliquely. And then it's open for interpretation for others that how Japan will react in the event of a Taiwan contingency. What would be its response? How it will help? Whether it will directly help Taiwan? Whether it will take some military action also, or whether it will provide rear support, logistical support to the US? And if it provides the support to the US, so will eventually it be dragged into a war? Those have been basically, what should I say, speculations and scholarly speculations and interpretations. But the Prime Minister and the government has not basically participated in that.
Okay.
This time, basically, she went a little bit out of line in the sense she basically tried to explain. Though she says that my explanation is in line with our long-standing position, but to be fair, that this long-standing position has never been explained in so many words. So this was for the first time that has angered China.
Right. I think her remarks were quite out of line when she said that she claimed in her first parliamentary address that militarized reunification of Taiwan by China could constitute a survival threatening situation for Japan, implying that a possibility of Japan's armed intervention in the Taiwan Straits.
You are
So,
right. Yes. Because previously Prime Minister and government has never said that militarized. What you have just
yeah,
said that military intervention or
intervention.
unification of Taiwan will create a survival threatening situation for Japan. So this was a little bit of specific,
Right.
as if the Japanese Prime Minister is basically is taking direct interest in the cross-strait affair.
So there have been also speculations that this has to do with an intention in Japan which has been on the rise in recent years for kind of remilitarization. You know, they have a history of tensions with China, and they have this sense of lost glory. You know, Japan used to be the foremost power in East Asia. So, what do you think about this notion of remilitarization of Japan?
So that has been a debate, and that has been the Chinese have been pointing out, and and you have rightly pointed out that many people are seeing this statement in light of the interpretation you have just given, and this is very much this statement as many would say, is very much addressing a certain kind of politics, domestic politics within Japan.
Right, right.
I will
Yeah.
not go into nuances of that politics, but a certain kind of politics which is very nationalistic, and which takes a different view of history, particularly the Japan's role in the Second World War or its invasion of China. So that basically many scholars are arguing that the prime minister's that address or statement was playing gallery to that political support that
Right.
basically wants looks for China, so Japan regaining the so-called glory of the historical glory.
Right.
In that context, so the concerns whether it is being deliberately used to make Japan a normal country in terms of its policy towards military force and what you saying remilitarization in terms of enhancing its military capabilities, defense export capabilities, overall in terms of enhancing its overall military capabilities. So it's a link can be drawn, but let's see how far-reaching and enduring it will be.
And what is your view on the recently the US has passed its 2026 National Defense Authorization Act, which has made a provision for defense spending of around USD 1 billion to help Taiwan. Though this must comply with the Taiwan Relations Act, but it has kind of made provisions for joint training between coast guards, and there is a projection being made that from 2026 to 2030 the US would deploy coast guard training teams and will basically look at joint and allied operational capacity with Taiwan. So what is your take on this? Is there a kind of recommitment of the US for this Taiwan Relations Act?
Never diluted its commitment, whatever it was commitment under the Taiwan Relations Act. So here I have a slight difference of opinion that so we should not go by this pessimistic op-eds and media headlines, etc. Because we have to look at the declaratory positions of the US. Declaratory positions of the US on Taiwan or on the issue of cross-strait relations have been remained the same, and under as you have specifically mentioned the latest
US
US national
National Defense
security
Authorization.
strategy.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
okay, you have mentioned the defense authorization. That is different. But if you look at this national security strategy document, which has
Right.
been very recently, only a couple of days ago, have been issued, and if you see in that, so it is very clear. See, expectation for burden sharing is there. That its allies, Taiwan is not an ally, but is not an ally, but we can say an informal ally for the sake of our conversation to understand the situation. Maybe it's because it has certain commitment towards Taiwan, political commitment, though that commitment is not as part of any bilateral treaty, but it's a congressional commitment to its own Congress, basically. So, so that applies to what I'm telling you applies to Taiwan also, that it expects burden sharing. It wants all these allies and the informal allies of Taiwan to increase their share of burden, and it encourages them to increase defense spending.
Right.
So that part is there, but overall, if you say that, then the strategy has what the word you used, recommitted, has made a recommitment to its long-standing position that we will deter China, that they are committed to deter China and against a forceful, unprovoked, and use of force, and that has been the US policy since 1979. Occasionally, they have used the word defense also. We will defend Taiwan. But that has been aberration, which has been basically mostly corrected every time whenever that word was used. But if you take a long view of the policy, so it has been a deterrence, deterring China, and deterring China against unprovoked use of force. So there is implication that the Taiwanese side should not provoke this. So this is what it has constituted a strategic ambiguity. During Biden's time, he made certain statements which were considered as whether the US is moving from strategic ambiguity to strategic clarity in favor of Taiwan, from deterrence to defense. But that remained unresolved debate even during those years. But now, in light of the present strategy paper, that has been clarified that the policy still remains strategic ambiguity. Commitment is towards deterring. Commitment is towards deterring an unprovoked use of force. And within this, whatever the US has committed to enhance Taiwan's defense preparedness. So if you look at the Trump's first term, it was very beneficial for Taiwan. If you look at Biden, so again, it was very beneficial for Taiwan in terms of arms sales, in terms of pro-Taiwan legislations like Taiwan Travel Act and the Defense Authorization Act, in which Taiwan has been mentioned specifically. So it has been consistent and continuous. Many components of defense cooperation between them has been pre-existing. There is some presence of, they have acknowledged that US, there is a US military training already present there. There is active collaboration between them for cyber security within the framework of cyber security, and of course defense, this weapon sales is there. So there is a consistency, and this consistency will be maintained. That I can see. And within this framework, they may come up with new form of cooperation also. Exactly whether they will involve Taiwan in joint operations, that I will not say because that is very specific terms. But yeah, I agree that within this overall framework that has been articulated under the strategic national strategy paper, defense cooperation will remain intact and it will increase within the defined boundaries.
So another aspect is that recently, like there was few news about how Chinese fighter jets had been sighted in Okinawa, which were actually, they had radar jets which
Yeah.
threaten Japanese presence in Okinawa. But China maintained that these were just routine exercises, and hence Japan should not have any objection to them. So, what is your take on that?
So a lot of activities are going on. The one you mentioned, and the restrictions on this report of restricting Chinese tourists to Japan, like report on banning Japanese seafood, etc. So if you look at the last 1 month's details, so lots of activities are going on. Activities are reported, actions are reported, then they are denied. And many of the actions, like the banning of seafood, was initially denied by Japan also. These are allegations and counter allegations. So exactly, so, and there will be no confirmation. Of course, Chinese will stick to their own position, and the Japanese, let's see what they say, how much they push it. But things are happening. That we can going beyond their regular this hedged reporting and denials, etc. Things are happening, but I would say this is more of basically posturing. Posturing basically necessitated by the statement of the Prime Minister on Japanese Prime Minister's statement on 7th of November.
So it's very interesting how you say that there have been denials, and also this is most related to posturing. How do you see things moving in the future? Like, will there be an escalation or do you think it's merely optics and after some time it'll just subside?
No, it will continue to remain in the international media headlines some more months before they before it subsides, and unless Chinese are satisfied by Japanese response, or unless the Japanese side is able to provide some response which can satisfy Chinese, some of its elements will continue even with time beyond. Because if we look at the controversy between China and South Korea on the third deployment, so some elements of their public exchanges which took a hit remains in limbo only.
But this has also led to kind of a regrouping in by Japan's allies, especially in terms of Quad. So there have been on Sunday, Japan and Australia had talks where they spoke about being united in terms of defending the Indo-Pacific and the Asia Pacific region.
Even it has given one more occasion them to discuss this issue.
Okay.
Because the Taiwan issue of cross-strait relations, or Chinese, in their view, Chinese aggressive posture towards this region, that has been part of their discussion for last many years. For many years because there have been some discussions, informal discussions, or even formal discussions. It has been reported that there were formal discussions also, that to explore what kind of coordinated action they can take if the need be, if in Taiwan contingency, etc. So this is not the first time that they will discuss. They will discuss. So if you look at the record of last 3 or 4 years, so this discussion on and off have been there. So I would say this particular episode has given one more occasion to again to sit together and discuss a joint response.
Dr. Prashant, could you throw light on the cross-strait relations in terms of whether there is a possibility of Taiwan reuniting with the mainland, or do you think it's just a lost cause?
Then you have to give me the time frame. Are you saying in 1 century, 2 century, or 5 years or 10 years?
Perhaps in the next 20 years, do you see?
Next 20 years, I do not see any chances of reunification, the term used by the Chinese side, or unification, the term used by the Taiwanese side. Next 20 years, I don't think so.
Okay.
Because it is still not China's. See, the point is we should not forget that this. What is your choice of word? Reunification or unification?
Yeah, reunification with the mainland.
With the mainland, okay. So reunification is not a timetabled agenda for the Chinese side. People basically argue that this realization of Chinese dream is incomplete without reunifying Taiwan. But that is still not a policy. That's an interpretation.
Right.
So, and at point in time, the basic line remains the same, that for China, the priority is to salvage and repair their relations with the United States. The priority for next 10 to 20 years, the priority is not to immediately reunify Taiwan, even if by force. That is not the priority. Priority is to basically national development and maintaining an overall favorable strategic environment, particularly with reference to stable great power relations, and that again with particular reference to US-China relations with the United States. That is the priority. And any use of force to reunify Taiwan will disturb that. So there is no evidence from Chinese side yet that they have revised their policy of peaceful reunification of Taiwan with the use of force as a last resort. So the policy remains the same. So that is the general scheme I believe in, that I believe that China will follow, continues to follow that, and I have reasons to believe that, because in Chinese mind, time is on their side, history is on their side, and rightly or wrongly, I don't know, but they are convinced. I see in their writings, and I see in my interactions with them, in my visits to China and wherever I meet them, that Taiwan will eventually go back to China, just in the process. They have to wait. Time is on their side.
Okay.
So they are not going to do anything, any use of force in 5, 10, or 15 years. See, we have to see my own. I'm giving my own views in this insights. They will, they have a commitment to the Communist Party of China has a commitment to their country and to the party to reunify Taiwan. There is no doubt about it. They are committed. They will pursue it. We can draw some insights from how they pursued Hong Kong. So if I draw some insight from them, I would say they will ensure. I'm trying to analyze things in their own terms. They will ensure that Taiwan goes back to the mainland under one country, two systems, as they profess now, without creating any chaos and with its prosperity intact. So any unnecessary, any hurried use of force will disturb this goal. So they can wait. They will wait. But I am so next. As you said, 20 years. No possibility. And it's not a lost cause for the Chinese. Chinese are not seeing these things. Chinese are not looking at this issue, that whether if they cannot reunify it in next 5, 10, or 15 or 20 years, so it becomes a lost cause, because Chinese capacity of for waiting, or Chinese patience, is proverbial. I'm telling you. If even if it comes to them, if they think that, okay, it will come after 60 years, 50 years, 80 years, 100 years, it will go back to them. They can wait.
So, in this light, how do you see India's position with regards to Taiwan?
So our mandate is clear. We should not overly worked up with this, because the point is that we have our relations with Taiwan operate in the framework of people to people exchanges, people to people relations. We characterize this relationship, quote unquote, unofficial relations. And the mandate is not for security or strategy or defense. The mandate is for good people to people relations that include trade, investment, science and technology, cooperation and collaboration, culture, education, and other aspects of societal relations. So the mandate has remained the same. That has not changed, and I don't see that it will change, and I don't see any reason either that it will change. So the point is, the U.S. role in cross-strait relations has certain historical context. Perceived Japanese role in cross-strait relations has also a certain historical context. We are not in that theater. We don't have any such context. So, so all these questions, what India's role should be there, I feel that after a point it is not applicable to us. In the manner they are applicable to the US or Japan, or maybe to other US allies.
But there is a section in the strategic community that still believes that India should make more, like develop more ties with Taiwan,
Of
so
course, we
that
should do.
we can kind of keep it slightly, on the edge when it comes to China-Taiwan reunification.
So we have no, see. I can tell you the official position. India does not have any official position on that, on the issue of reunification.
Right.
See, I'm not aware if it is there. Well, I have not seen. I have not read it. So the point is, yeah, I am all for very excellent relations with Taiwan. There is no doubt about it. I have lived there. I have great respect for that society, for the respect for the achievement of that society, their way of life, the democratic of way of life, their democracy. I have respect for that. I have the respect for their accomplishments, achievements, and in knowledge, in science and tech development, and in their economic growth. And so we should definitely, and particularly when now we are talking of cooperation and collaboration in advanced technologies, critical technologies, when we are talking of this reliable and supply chains, alternative supply chains, Taiwan has a role to play.
Right.
Yeah, for that, for that we have to have excellent relations with Taiwan. But the point is, within the given scheme of our relation with Taiwan, other questions are out of place, and that they are not very germane to us. That's what I would say.
So there is no pressure in terms of aligning with the US position or
Why should it be there?
the Japanese position.
Why should it be there? What is the rationale for that?
No, in case we are like being trying to part of Quad and uh, have our own agenda in the Indo-Pacific
See, we
security
are part
framework.
of Quad. We are part of many other groupings, but we exercise our strategic autonomy also.
Right, right, right.
I look at this issue in a different, a little bit different manner. That by having excellent relations with Taiwan, the countries of the world basically can help it to reduce its sense of siege and sense of its loneliness, and provide it strength to negotiate peace with the mainland. And that is the role I see for India.
So since you mentioned democracy, uh, in case there will be a kind of like hypothetically, suppose there is reunification between the mainland and the Taiwanese peninsula, how do you see the question of democracy being handled by the two
Oh, it
sides?
is for up to the Taiwanese. How will they handle it? And it is maybe I do not know whether I'm right or wrong. Maybe it is up to for the countries who have been, for mainly for the US. I would say I should mention the country by name who has been involved uh, in the issue. See, lastly, it is not just cross issue. This is not a cross-state issue. It's a basically Beijing, Taipei, and Washington not.
Right.
Washington is very much involved in this. So they are the primary stakeholders.
How do you think that the people-to-people relations between India and Taiwan can be improvised and also somehow feature in China's concerns as well, and to make like India, China, as well as Taiwan relations better?
I see immense scope for excellent people to people relations between India and Taiwan. And gradually, it's a hard work of the government of two sides in last 20 years or so, since 1995 onwards. Of course, it has been gradual that we have by and by removed all technical restrictions. Now, I am not aware of any restriction is there either in terms of visa, in terms of investment, in terms of trade and investment facilitation, in terms of people movement for education and for other purposes. And now there is a talk of basically mobility of skilled this human resource mobility between the two sides. Now they are, I would say the relationship is in much more comfortable zone. Here onward we can make it even better, improve further. So government has played its role, government is playing, but then the urge should come from the society also. from the industry also to explore each other's market, and from the other institutions also, from universities also, to basically strengthen their relations with their counterparts. So that environment has been created, and I do not see any. See, all this time to time, this media chatter and social media chatter apart, I will go by the policies. See, all these relations do not attract negative attention from China, because the Chinese policy itself towards Taiwan is that in their founding. Yes, so I'm forgetting the name of the document. And after this 1970, the after 1979, when they issued this, they offered the one country, two systems. Yeah.
Consensus, the
No, no,
1990.
no, 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 no. One country, two systems. When they proposed for the first time in those documents, it is clearly mentioned that they do not oppose Taiwan's economic and cultural relations with with countries. What they oppose is any form of political and diplomatic relations and defense. If we look at the Chinese policy towards Chinese approach towards Taiwan's relations with the world, so the Chinese do not oppose their cultural and economic relations. What they oppose is basically political or diplomatic recognition in any form, even symbolically. And of course, this arms sales will matter to them if someone tries to that. But when it apart from that, the countries have excellent relations with Taiwan, even China. So the kind of in economy and investment within the WTO norms, Taiwan, Fangu, and Chinman are a separate custom territory. They are treated as a foreign territory, and they cannot oppose India to have good economic relations in terms of trade and investment, etc. And they will not do this, particularly when they are having even much better relations with Taiwan, and treating Taiwan as a for foreign entity for economic matters. So on that part, I do not see any reaction, and we should not be unnecessarily concerned about that. Unless, as long as we have no inclination to challenge the existing template of our relationship, I don't think we will attract any serious attention or negative attention from their side. And whether we can have, see, the point is, your question was that the three sides can have something.
Yeah.
I don't see, practically speaking, there is not much scope for that. But scholars' mobility is there. Scholars are traveling. Indian scholars are traveling to China. There is the same scholars are traveling to Taiwan. And earlier, now not in the present time, when the Taiwanese scholars used to travel China also. So I would say that it's a knowledge sharing basically, and try to understand complexities involved in the situation and give a nuanced perspective that can be expected from the scholastic community from the three sides, and interactions and exchanges between them. But beyond that, I do not expect much. There is not much scope for that.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Prashant. Your remarks were very insightful, and I'm glad that we had you today with us to uh, basically discuss the Taiwanese conundrum that China and East Asia faces. Thank you for joining us. And this conversation basically underscores how optics play an important role when it comes to the Sino-Japanese rivalry, and due to historical connections as well, historical narratives play a very important role in how China and Japan deal with each other bilaterally. That brings us to the end of this today's episode on Chintan Speaks. And I'm Dr. Bhavna Singh, and it has been a pleasure to host this deep conversation with Dr. Prashant. Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me.